record here. Record here. And welcome to week 9. It's hard to believe it's been 9 weeks.
I know, Saki, and next week is week 10 of the whole program. It's been incredible. Are we recording now? Oh, yeah.
We are recording. You're on.
Hey. All right. So this week your amazing hosts are Saki Litov and Cara Lynn, myself. Currently, actually, like I said to you, Saki, I successfully applied. Well, I was accepted into university to do my nursing degree. So it's really exciting. So I've completely shifted from community services and going into the medical field now.
Very exciting.
So I'm very excited about that. And joining me today is obviously yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Been in the medical field 30, 40 years, depending on how I count it. And actually I was prepping for, I'm going to make a video of myself as a patient advocate, kind of like a promo video. And, I realized that I've really been a healthcare patient advocate my whole life. A lot of it just depends on how you define it. So that's me. I'm a patient advocate, helping people figure out stuff.
We all need help figuring out stuff, and I think that's why we're doing this as well. So okay, so quick survey. I have my phone in the way for this slide, so if you want to go through this.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So this is basically a recap of the challenges that we've put out each week. But week 1, we put it out to people to hydrate each morning. The second week, it was journaling. Third week is moving daily, having to do with exercise. Fourth week, which was food, was breaking the fast. Week 5 was joining a better sleep challenge, just trying to make some sleep changes. Week 6 was establishing a morning ritual. Week 7, we reflected on processing fears. And last week, week 8, was implementing the steps to success for working at home.
Awesome. How have you gone with all of those?
It's funny. I remember I had made a commitment to meditate more, and I wasn't really good at it or good about it. And last night or within the last couple of days, I kind of said, okay, I need to change and make a commitment about my sleep schedule. And so I went to sleep earlier so I can get up earlier, which I prefer. And I was actually able to meditate again this morning because I had the time.
Oh, so, awesome.
Yeah, that was great. How about you?
I think definitely not consistently with everything, but I've definitely, made some improvements and attempted all of them. Some of them fit into my life and some of them I found, sort of no benefit. I mean, obviously there is benefit to all of these, but I just found that, existing habits were definitely sustainable, good habits, not bad ones.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so definitely need to do the Better Sleep Challenge again, I think.
It's always a work in progress, right? And I think that the best thing that people can take out of this is that nothing should ever be considered a failure, right? Like you do the best you can. If it doesn't work, then you just give it another shot. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, look, if I've achieved these, 3 or 4 of these things in a week, for at least 1 to 2 days, it's success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Success is different for everybody.
Right.
But yeah, okay, so moving on. So I should be able to get this one. So a recap of weeks 1 to 8, we've done mindset, foundations, which were sleep, diet, exercise, prayer, and meditation. exercise and movement, food for thought, sleep, morning ritual, grow in the face of adversity, and tips to working from home. And today's topic is let's get
Woohoo!
organized.
Yay!
I actually did this, went back to my old method of being organized, and that is a giant corkboard, and on that with the push pins. So I have my post-it notes all on there, as you would imagine.
As I would
But I have
imagine.
but I have my my printed calendar on there as well, which notes down, all those blocks that I need to, like Susanna was talking about around working from home. One thing to make sure is that you block out time for certain things, for yourself, for family, for work. So I've done all of that. I've got all my to-do post-it notes on there, and I've got, forms and things that need to be filled out. I've got them pinned on there as well. So everything's organized in one spot for me now, and it really works.
That's great.
But obviously, everybody's different. Some people, like we were discussing, some people use the wall calendars, the diaries, the mobile phone calendars. And so we'll go through those different things today. And to start, what does organized look like to you?
It's a great
I'm asking
question.
you.
Yeah, so it's funny because that's something that I have struggled with my whole life, and I think that that's like a normal thing. But being an administrator for so many years, being organized was something critical, right? I needed to have myself organized to be able to lead others. And it's changed over the years. I mean, like you were saying, you say you go back to your old cork board. That never worked for me. But it's a process for me, and it's also been something I have to be that has evolved. So what was organized for me 10 years ago, it doesn't look anything like what it is today. And that's okay, right? I think we find the things that work for us, and I personally am appreciative of technology.
Yep. Yep. One of the things that I had when I was a tenancy manager for a community housing organization, I had a work phone. I had a paper diary, like a paperback diary, and I had my personal phone and my laptop. So between the four, I had to make sure everything was all together. I always
Right.
had to have everything in my work phone because it was linked to the laptop, so people could look and see, okay, she's free here, we'll send an invite. But obviously they couldn't see my personal appointments in my phone. So it was always just so much to manage. And in the field, working out in the field, I'd have to have my paperback diary to obviously make the notes. And it was a horror show.
And that's actually where I have failed year out consistently, is that I find that I have a notebook with me at all times. So I always have something to write things down on. The problem is it doesn't always make it into my calendar, right? So I can write stuff down all I want, but it's fairly useless unless I actually put it into the calendar, which for me has been probably for at least 10 years, if not longer. I've relied on the computer. Actually, as I was an early adopter for smartphones because of that. I was executive director of a large faith organization. And so not only was it all appointments, but I always kept track of everybody's birthdays and anniversaries.
Oh, wow.
And I love to like call people on their birthdays. And to this day, this is now 15 years later, I still have all these things in my calendar. Like,
so you still have everybody's birthday?
I do. It's pretty funny.
So I mean, as I mentioned, I think being organized, like what that looks like to me is just being prepared. So for things as simple as walking out the door to take the kids to school, it's having the uniforms ready, the lunches ready, you've got everything that you need for if you're going to the shop after dropping the kids to school. You've got your shopping bags and you've got your shopping list, and there's just those small actions or those small steps that make it easier throughout the day. So being prepared. But that's what it is to me. I think you can tell that I was savagely unorganized this morning. Mm. But we won't talk about that. So 10 mindsets of organized people who are very successful. And Psyche, if you want to discuss any of these, jump in, but otherwise I'll just read.
Oh, you mean like attribute them to individuals?
No.
Oh, got it. So
that information, sorry.
yeah. So I've always found it interesting that this is a really common thing, because one of the things that very successful people share in common is that almost all of them have a very clear organizational method that
Yep.
is how they attribute to their success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we hit that nail on the head when we were discussing morning ritual. When we did morning rituals, I forget, was it Albert Einstein, Lincoln, and somebody else? I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but one thing that they all had was a really good morning ritual. Get up at the same time, same habits each day, and it set them up for the day.
Totally.
So it's very similar to having that, to being organized, and some of the mindsets of those people who are successful would be that they have the tools that they need to assist them, and like we were saying, that looks different for everybody. They know what the priorities are and give them their due importance. So really, sort of figuring out what's the priority, what's not. They only worry about relevant things. So, for me, that's, not worrying or spending time ruminating on things that are out of our control, or, they're not that of high importance.
Or it could even be not getting sidetracked with social media.
Yes, yep. I've been very good at getting sidetracked by words with friends lately. That preference to keep things simple in the way that they're doing things, not to overcomplicate, keeping everything well maintained. I think it goes without saying, our bodies, our cars, our homes, our lives, we keep everything, we look after those things, they work. They are always concerned about future rewards. That, to me, I wasn't so sure about. What does that say to you?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I could interpret it as I would think that, sometimes having motivation to be able to move forward, right? So the having an idea, a kind of eye on the prize.
Yes, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking when you started talking. I was like, the end goal.
Right.
That's the reward, that accomplishment, that achievement. Getting rid of the clutter. I can't work well if I have a cluttered desk. I know that. Even housework. I need to have my housework done, because if I'm sitting there trying to do something, I know the laundry needs to be folded and put away. The dishes need to be put away, and so I'd rather everything's done, and then I can sit down and have a fresh mind and not worry about all those little things. I'm learning to let go, which is the next point.
There you go.
So, learning to let it go when you can't seem to win. I think there's, for me, this sort of goes into that, well, those things that we can control and those things that we can't. We've tried something and it's not worked. So, we need to learn to let that go, and maybe we'll try a different approach. Um, don't become prisoners of their routine. So for me, that's really about being okay to step outside of that comfort zone. I get up at this time, I have my coffee, I have my water, I do my stretches, and sometimes things might happen that stop that from happening. You get up late, you have a sick child, all these sorts of things. So being okay to sort of step outside of that's really important.
It's
Um,
also, I think, an issue where people get stuck. And I think that's, to me, that speaks a little bit about this idea of being a prisoner of your routine. Somebody is struggling on moving forward on something
yep,
because they have their routine and they feel like they need to keep that routine, regardless of whether they're moving forward or not.
whether it's serving them or not.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And think smart and plan things in advance.
I
I
think
like
that's
that
pretty
one.
self-explanatory.
Yep, absolutely. I That's like we were talking about before, having everything sort of organized for the next couple of weeks. As I was saying, with all of the sort of social media things and whatnot, advertising and having that all planned out so that I'm not doing it last minute, and then I get stuck in that stressful cycle
Right.
of yeah. So the next one is tips to help you get organized. So, establish a good morning and nighttime ritual, create actionable goals, use a calendar, use a 5 item or less task list, prioritize the important, delegate tasks, clean up your workspace, keep everything in one place, and throw out one thing per day.
Love it all. And
Um,
this is where we'll go into
yeah,
detail.
yep, absolutely. So, establish a good morning and nighttime ritual.
So this is actually where
So,
I'm just having to reset. Remember, I had said earlier that I really decided I kind of hit a place where I didn't want to be. Actually, you know what it was is that with COVID, everybody's home, right? So
mhm,
we're still really kind of stuck in the house and in these routines of not necessarily having to go out to go to work and having significantly
yeah,
less um, things to do in the day. And so the other day, I let myself sleep in a little bit longer. But by the time I
mhm,
finished my kind of morning ritual of working out and having breakfast and kind of settling in, it was noon. I was like, half the day's gone. So
yeah,
I have to start going to bed early again
yeah.
because otherwise, I'm not getting enough sleep. And frankly, I thrive in the morning. I'm a morning person. So that was an interesting thing I've had to do this week is kind of do that reset, not getting stuck in my routine, and saying okay. And we can't do it alone, right? I said to my partner, I said, look, I need to redo this, and please help me with that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really good to have that support from those who are around you and those gentle reminders. I get them all
Absolutely.
the time. Make sure you eat. What have you eaten today?
Right.
Make sure you get to, I'm trying to be quiet. Make sure you get to bed at this time. This is the goal. But I think a good morning and nighttime ritual, as you said, you got up a little bit later, and but you still went through those normal motions of what you would do, regardless of getting up early or late.
Right.
And then you realize it's noon. So I think but then on the other hand, if you got up late and you weren't to do those things that sort of set you up, then you feel like something's missing. So because you're used to that routine, those habits, and but yeah, a good morning and nighttime ritual for me is just for me, it's having everything ready the day before, really setting myself up, and having the clothes out ready, having the lunches made, having breakfast stuff on the bench, and just having meditation, getting up at a decent time so that I have that little bit of time for myself to do those things that set me up for the day as well.
And the more prepared you are, the more time you'll have to be able to do it. So it's interesting because that's nighttime ritual has direct correlation to the morning ritual, right? And so I appreciate it. For me, it was different when my kids were younger. I would definitely make sure to make lunches the night before so that that wasn't part of the morning rush. Now it's as much like setting out my workout clothes or setting out, all the things that I need for the day. So in the morning when I get up, I don't have to think about those things. I'm just moving right into it.
Yep. Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. Having should see my bedroom when I don't set up my clothes.
Yeah.
It's like a World War III. Everything's been pulled out. It's terrible. So creating actionable goals. I think it's really good to sort of use the smart goal system, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So being realistic about your goals and things that you can actually do. But saying I'm going to build my own boat next year. Well, no, maybe I might go on and take a carpentry course instead and build a little boat. It's just
Well, we're setting up those.
achievable.
Right. Well, and it's interesting. I'm just having this conversation with my younger son who has kind of gotten back into fitness. He's somebody who was into sports in school, but mostly individual sports. And he was a dancer, so he's always been very fit. But he's kind of gotten out of it in the last few years, and now he's getting back into it. So he set himself a goal, which I thought was really impressive, to do a triathlon this year. Now, a little one,
Awesome.
a little
Yeah.
one, like they what do they call it? A sprint triathlon. But we're talking about this idea of what do you need to, so there's the big goal, which is awesome. What do you need to do to get from here to get to there, which is really far away? You can't go out tomorrow and do the triathlon. So it's also, I think, good to push ourselves, right? So because he's getting back into this stuff too, I set a personal goal that next year we have a ride locally, a bicycle ride in this area called the STP, which is Seattle to Portland. It's about 215 miles. And it's it's a 3-hour drive. And it's usually done in 2 days. So about 100 miles a day. And so my goal is to ride it next year, not this coming season. It happens in the summer, but next summer. So
that's amazing.
I am terrified.
So that is the big goal, but I guess those actions, those actionable goals, are those steps that you might take
Tomorrow
to
I'm going to go for a 20-mile ride.
Nice. 20 miles.
It's flat. My area is all hills. Okay. And so in this close by my house, I ride maybe 5-10 miles and I'm done, toast. So I'm going to pick my son up tomorrow in the morning. We're going to drive somewhere where it's just flat trail. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
That would be awesome. 20 miles. So calendars. As I mentioned before, I actually have my corkboard going again. And the type of calendar that I guess, that I would use is I just print out 2 weeks. I love lead pencil, always writing things in, so because, then I can change easily. Things change all the time. But I reuse those. But I've got them pinned onto my board with my to-dos and bits and pieces that I need to remember.
Does everything make it onto your calendar? Like what are the smallest detail things that you put on that you like to put on your calendar?
Budget.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
okay.
Mondays I work on my budget. On my calendar I have, so work blocked out, lunch and walk. I have nothing generally before 9 o'clock because that's my time, with my daughter. And once I drop her to school, I've got, so my morning is always a morning ritual. And that looks like, I don't have the word water on there, but I do have the water symbol, a little drop, to remember to hydrate. And I have lunch on there, I have afternoon tea, I have morning tea. So I have all of those things on there so I remember to do them. But then I have appointments, I have, work, and I have study blocked out. I'll actually take a photo of it and share it to our Facebook
Oh,
page.
great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. And it's funny. I've been doing electronic calendars for years. And what I like about it is that for me, it shows up everywhere. We were talking earlier about,
Yep.
writing something down somewhere and not transferring it to your calendar. And so there's nothing more embarrassing than, right, having to manage multiple calendars, having something on one, forgetting to transfer it to the other, and missing an appointment. So that's something I've really appreciated over the years, is the ability to figure out how to sync my calendars so that I really can write it down in one place and know it'll be disseminated to all the different places that I may look at over the course of a day or a week.
So you have it on all those devices that you might use. Yeah, and I do like that. You'll see on my the way that I have mine laid out, it's colorful and creative. And I used lots of different colors. So you'll see. It's
That's
just
great.
a bit more fun and eye-catching, and it's right there, as I walk into the kitchen, so I see it constantly.
Nice.
The 5-item or less task list. So I think, the idea of something like this is really to have those priorities. Those things that are, each day you might have that task list of things to do, and this could be for work, it could be for your personal life, but it's just having 5 or less. Usually for me, it's about 3.
I think 3 is kind of like the traditional golden number.
Yeah.
I think traditional.
Sorry, go.
Oh, no. I think traditionally I've always seen this idea or understood the concept that, if you want people to really understand the main concepts of something, you give them 3 bullets. Or if you're giving task lists to people, you don't put anything more than 3.
Okay.
Because, but again, it can vary, obviously. So I like this idea, the concept of 5 items or less. I worked for an organization for a number of years where we were constantly implementing efficiency rituals and things, and this is really one of the big ones. And they were actually big proponents for having a list of 3, but you need to know of those 3, which is your highest priority, and that's what you should be working on. And you don't move on to the second one until that first one's done. Have you ever seen the time management video? And if you haven't, it's something worth looking at, where somebody's placing rocks into a jar. And it's about prioritizing. I wish I could remember the thing, but it's really powerful. So imagine that big rocks are your highest priority, okay? And then you've got smaller rocks that are kind of the daily grind kind of things that that we all need to do, but are a little less important than the primary goals. And then you have sand. And the sand is the phone calls and the interruptions and the emails and the social media and all the other things that mix in our day, but can sometimes overwhelm us. And so you have equal amounts of all these things, okay? But if you put the sand into the jar first, you physically can't fit the other things in, literally. And so
I've seen this.
It's an amazing thing. So you put the big rocks in first, which symbolizes this idea of taking care of those big priorities first. And then if you do that, and then you focus on those mid-level priorities, the smaller rocks, they'll fit in around these big rocks. And then the rest of it gets filled with the sand. And then it all fits. Okay. But if you do it in any other order, it doesn't work. So yeah,
Yeah, I like
it's
that.
a really powerful visual.
I've just grabbed a Post-it note. There's no notepads around me. But
Crayon on the wall.
Let's no. I would be murdered. So it's a time management video, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it would be really great to maybe share that on the Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. I will find it and I'll send you the link.
All right, awesome. And I think that goes into our next, thing about prioritizing.
Exactly. Yes.
We pretty much just covered that. But it's, you're absolutely right. Like if we fill up our jar with, sand first, there's just no room for anything else.
And it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do.
Yeah, it is, because it's easy to get, to have those little distractions. Oh, an email's popped up, I'll quickly check it, rather than, saying, okay, no, for me, like you asked, those little details on my calendar, I have time specifically blocked out during 2 parts of the day where I will allow, responding to emails, voicemail messages and things like that. I can hear you.
So yeah, I mean, prioritizing is so critical, and it's also, I think, a great example as to how critical it is to make sure that you're prepared for this, right? Because it is very easy, if you're not set up for it, to allow these other things to take priority. And then what happens is you end up your day and you had a list of 2 or 3 things that you really wanted to get to, and you didn't do them.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? I'll be completely honest with you. Like, just going back to this one, with the 5 items or less, and like you said, it's generally the rule of thumb is 3. But I actually do 1. My goal is always 1. And you'll see on my corporate, it's every to do for me has its own note. And so as I'll take one off for that day. There are priorities that need to be allocated to certain days, but those that don't, I'll take one off, and that my goal is to make sure that one at least gets done. If I've done it, I have time, I can do another one. That's fine.
That's awesome.
But then that note gets reused for the other side, and then it gets recycled.
Yeah, but and that by that way you're prioritizing. You have it really clear what's the goal, the primary goal of the day.
And it's also, and I'll give a really good example with one of them. I'll post an additional photo, but, there might be a certain task, but underneath that, there might be things that I need to do to complete that task. So it's really about identifying those things rather than saying, email this. Well, what information do I need? When does the email need to be sent by? Like, just all these sorts of little bits and pieces of information. So it's just really about being prepared.
Totally.
This one you might be able to, for me, I would talk on a personal level. When it comes to delegating tasks.
Well, I would tell you that if for me, this has probably been the biggest challenge of my work career in general, because delegating is challenging, especially as a leader, because it's very hard to allow or offer somebody the opportunity to do something that you could do better. But in a organizational structure for success, there needs to be, actually, I'm listening to a book now about organizational leadership And they talk about decentralized command. And it's basically the concept and idea that if you're the leader of an organization, your job and role is to have that what's kind of known as a 10,000 meter perspective, right? You need to have that view of what everything looks like from overhead. But if you're down there in the weeds, working and trying to help tell people what to do, you've lost that perspective. And that's not helpful to the organization because things get missed. So you have to find junior leaders under you who you can trust, who will do the tasks that need to be done. And frankly, if they don't do them poorly, that's part of the process and the learning. So delegating is really critical to be able to, especially if you have a big full plate. If it's just you don't necessarily have to delegate. But most of us, even if delegating is finding childcare.
I think I think sorry, but one of the things, even for sole sole business owner
Yeah.
operators, they still delegate. And I learned that. I refused to do it. I learned how much you really need to be able to let go. But say doing a website, doing the communication, doing the advertising, just all of that sort of stuff, and doing it all yourself, you just become a slave 24/7 to doing every single thing, and it becomes very challenging.
Well, and
So being
then
able
your
to,
work-life balance struggles.
yeah, absolutely. So I think sort of outsourcing those sorts of things, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of up and coming business owners, even in the coaching field, which is what I was doing. A lot of up and coming coaches who like life coaching, who are starting their own business and trying to find their feet. But it is really important, I think, to be able to delegate tasks, by outsourcing them to other people. So it's
Absolutely.
important at I think almost every level.
No, for sure.
Look at all the post-it notes.
So aside from the post-it notes, that's what my desk looks like right now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's probably, and
But
I
it's,
love having a clean desk, but it's always a work in progress.
yeah, I think with my desk it's very similar. I have all my stuff everywhere, and then I'll tidy it up when I want to.
Yeah,
It's not consistently, you know, perfect, and everything's lined up, but I mean, I work best when I have everything out in front of me and I know, what needs what. And I have my post-it notes with the little notes on them that tell me, okay, what this needs, what that needs, what this needs. But I don't have my screen looking like that.
well, and
But it is.
I know I function much better when my space is organized.
Yeah,
So I think that that's one of the goals that I'm chasing on a regular basis.
yeah. Maybe you could share a photo of
No, no,
of now and
no. Yeah.
before and
Before and
after.
after. Yeah.
Yeah. Before and after the renovation.
Now it's interesting because in retrospect, keeping everything in one place, right? So even though I have this incredibly messy desk, I actually do know where everything is.
Yeah.
And it may not be top of the pile, and I can't put my hand right on it, but there is value in having that workspace, right?
An organized mess.
Absolutely, absolutely, and like I am sure, like let's even just looking at this image, I'm going to guess that if this person's a photographer, that they have more things than just one lens, a roll of film, and a camera.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You should see all my photography gear. It's insane. But no, and it's not, look, it's not all in one place. But I think for me, keeping everything in one place, for example, obviously I have my desk, but those items that I would use daily are in the drawers right in front of me. And I have, this is not my home, but next to my desk in my home, I have a cube system, which has my printer, my shelving system. Like, it's got all my bits and pieces. It's got the folders. It's got all the stationery stuff. So for me, it's just having all of that at the roll of a chair. Like, I can get everything that I need. I don't have to keep getting up to go and get, I need a stapler. I'll go, to the other room and grab that. I forgot to get the ruler. It's out there. Just having everything together. It just, I guess, it's time saving.
Well, and it's interesting because the way I would describe, for me, having everything in one place is this. In all honesty, because I have learned how to. I have access to all my documents on my phone. I have access to my calendars. I've got all my contacts. I could pretty much, not that I want the house to burn down, but as long as my phone is in my pocket, I've got access to the most important things, including and this is one of the things about technology, including my photographs and memories and movies. And, today you have the ability to store so much in the cloud, but that's one more thing to have to do if it's not something you're used to doing.
Yep. I just quickly, I watched a movie last night called Spencer Confidential.
Oh, I have it on my kind of short list. I haven't seen it yet, but how was it?
It has Mark Wahlberg. It's really funny. But in one part, and I won't give you everything, but in one part, he goes in to steal, like, he needs the video recording equipment, and he's trying to take it. And the guy at the petrol station is saying, "Why are you taking that? That's our cable box." And he's like, "I need the videos from the other night." And he's trying to steal the surveillance footage. Or not steal it, they just take it. But anyway, the guy says, "It's in the cloud." And Mark Wahlberg says, "The cloud? What's the cloud?" And he's like, "It's in the cloud, dude." And it's like, "Give me the cloud."
Right.
It just reminded me of that. It's funny. You'll love it. I think you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's a good point. Having everything in one place, it's really like all those important things. Having that. What do you call the cloud? Is it like a virtual hard drive?
You could call it a virtual hard drive. That would be, a good description. Yeah. So, I mean, the cloud is where, so the data lives somewhere, right? Somewhere somebody's got a server with a physical hard drive, but they make the data available via the internet.
Okay.
So that's what becomes known as the cloud, is all the information that is there and accessible to us through our computers.
Maybe I need a tech lesson, Saki. Yeah. Don't worry
Maybe.
about it. I like paper.
Yeah. So, and I loved this one, this idea of, throwing something away every day. My wife and I are all kind of on a purge shtick now, and it's so easy. She likes to joke, I'm absolutely the keeper hoarder one in the family. I'm like, oh, we can't get rid of that. Like, who knows if next year we might not need it for something, or the kids are going to ask for it, or and it feels so great to. And I just told you, we just sold our minivan. which was
Yes.
kind of bittersweet. We've had it, 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Incredible memories with the kids and
Yeah.
camping and the dogs and everybody piling in and sleeping in it. And so happy to see it go.
Yeah, look, I think that it's and not to sound insensitive, and look, some people, um, I understand, some people find a lot of value in keeping what I'm about to talk about. Um, but I have tubs and tubs and tubs of finger paintings and pieces of paper with a drawer, like a line, and other paintings and other drawings and circles, and you know 18 years. That's, my Alex is almost 18 years
Right.
old, and so I have 18 years worth of finger paintings and parrot hats and pom-poms and plaster things, and there's just so much. And then you've got to figure out what to keep, what to throw away. Like, I want to keep this, I want to show the kids, or they might want that, they want to see it. So I'm going through that at the moment of like keeping the significant things. So now we have a rule of thumb where Miss Five will bring the latest painting home from school, and we have a wall where it's displayed for a week and then it gets turned into wrapping paper.
That's perfect. Wrapping paper for
It's
who?
because whoever is getting
Okay.
a present. But because you just end up, and I'm no word of a lie, Saki, I think I've got about six of these big tubs full of stuff from the kids growing up, going to school, and scouts and soccer and cricket and dancing, and just so much.
Well,
So, but I mean, they go.
oh, it's amazing to see in different scenarios as well how the importance of things, and as you change how you live. So my younger son just moved into a very small place with his girlfriend, and they had just moved from they'd been in a house where they shared a room with a number of other people. Then they moved from the house to a smaller apartment that they also shared with somebody else, but it was an entire apartment. And now they're just in a room. Even though it's a big room, it's everything. And they really had to pare down because not everything fits, So
Yeah,
what do you need? What do you not need? What can you live with? What can you not live without?
yeah,
So yeah, it's
yeah.
always interesting.
I think culling and yeah, just getting rid of the clutter and the crap. It can be a very freeing feeling.
But I love the
Oh yeah,
idea of having a goal of getting rid of one thing a day. So
I know we sort of went away from that, didn't we? so,
no, it's
so the
okay.
goal,
That's all right.
no.
You can
um,
keep going on.
but yeah, the idea of one thing per day, I guess. Even if it was, for example, a desk, a workstation, being able to have a look and go, okay, well, that's last year's calendar. I don't need that anymore. I can recycle
Totally.
that. Well, that plant there has been dead for the last 3 years. I'm going
Right.
to empty that pot and maybe replant something else.
Right. Or that
um,
box in your basement that's been there for 20 years and
yeah,
you don't know what's in it
and
because you haven't opened it.
I was going to say, you don't have no idea what's in there, and you're just too scared to open it.
Yeah.
um,
So, well,
so
I think we've covered, any other organizational tips. Do you want to do the challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I probably should have put that slide in with this one, but the aim for this particular challenge is obviously, let's get organized. So it's really going through that list of pointers and I can go back to
Yeah,
it.
let's go back to it real quick, just as a reminder.
It's a shame that it doesn't show them all of the slides up
Well,
along the
and you know what,
bottom.
I can just go through it really quick. So, oh, yeah, there you go.
That's
One,
that list.
one more.
So,
There we go.
So yeah, so going through those, sort of going through those, and you don't necessarily need to do all of this in one day. You don't have to do all of them.
Or even in
Um,
1 week, you know,
yeah,
if you pick one thing off the list and you're able to kind of work it into any sort of routine, that can be a big win.
yeah, absolutely. And I think some of these we also touched on during the previous 8 weeks of the wellness check-in.
Absolutely.
So
I
they
think
all,
with organizational stuff, there's always crossover.
yeah, absolutely. And I think so for me, I would probably look at personally, I'll probably be allocating an hour, maybe a little bit more, an hour and a half, and just work through these things and see where I am at with each point. Um,
I
so
can tell you
yeah,
what I'm focusing on, which is
what's that?
cleaning up my workspace.
Well, I mean, I think a before and after shot would be a great idea. And
Well,
then
we'll see.
obviously leaving, on that quote as we do, organization isn't about perfection. It's about efficiency, reducing stress and clutter, saving time and money, and improving your overall quality of life.
Absolutely.
I
With my
really liked
focus
that one.
on reducing stress and clutter.
Yep. Thank you, Saki, for joining us today. Do you have any questions, comments, feedback?
No, you know, I think that this is awesome, and you know, I'm excited to kind of figure out how we're gonna do our celebration next week for our final slot in this
Yeah.
10-week program.
That one I do want to be live for because I think it's really important that we have a dance party at least.
Oh, okay. I'll have
Yeah.
to work up on my dancing by myself thing with a partner across the world.
make, make sure that you have your dance shoes on and your flags.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. All right. Well, thanks again, Cara. This is always great. And
Yeah, you
please
too,
check us
Saki.
out on Facebook and on LinkedIn. The videos are all going to be up on YouTube, and we look forward to having people join us again.
Awesome. Thanks, Saki.
Thanks, Cara. Take care.
Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.